What's up, everybody? I'm George. This is Malaka MotorSports, and I'm here with the Greek version of Lebowski, aka
Stav.
What's going on, Stav? What do you got in your hand, and what have we been waiting for?
I've been waiting for my T4 gaskets to come in. They came in 2 days later with Amazon Prime. So we got them in last night and ready to work today.
All right, so what's left to do?
We're going to change the gasket on the turbo and then throw the motor in the car today.
And then after we're throwing the motor in the car, we are starting to just hook up components, bolt everything up, get it going, and then maybe even firing towards the end of today.
Correct. We're going to work hard today to get it firing. And
what day is it today?
Today is Thursday. I see what you're going there. Preemptive strike. Today's Thursday.
Today's Monday, a couple days before Christmas. And
in China, it's Thursday right now.
We're getting ready. We're getting ready to throw Stav's motor in there, button everything up, and hopefully fire up today, if not first thing tomorrow on Christmas Eve. But today's part 10 of Stav's build video, and we need to hurry up and get this in the car. So without further ado, guys, this is part 10. Welcome back. We hope you enjoy it, and hopefully we have the car running and firing by the end of today.
So what are you doing here?
Well, we sheared, well, I'm doing a little bit what I used to do in the Marine Corps as an airframer. But whatchamacallit, we sheared both studs out here. They were the wrong ones to begin with, but you know, we were trying to put new hardware in, and in the process of removing it, we got it stuck, and it wouldn't come off. And they were bent, and the threads are trash. So I sheared the heads off so I can drill this through. So luckily I have a bunch of really badass drill bits, and I'm drilling through so I can tap them out and clean them up and then remove these studs. So I'm about, let's see how far this goes. About almost 80% through. I already used one drill bit out, so I'm on the second one. And then I'll drill this second stud, and then we'll clean up the threads and then run to the hardware store real quick and get the right hardware for this turbo. But yeah, like, what was it? 1 step forward, 5 step back. You know, as we're getting ready to throw the motor in and swap out the gasket, now we have 2 studs that we need to get rid of. So we're just drilling this out real quick. Okay, so got pretty much towards the center of the stud, and I got the drill on slow, even though it looks like it's going fast. It's on the, I'm pretty sure it's the slow setting. Put that back. Yeah, so just slowly going through, drilling a hole right down the center, and then I'm going to be able to tap it out. And worst case scenario, if it still seized, if I still can't spin it, I'll drill enough through it so I can break it up inside the manifold, so it'll be fine. But yeah, one step forward, 5 steps back. That's always the way it is with cars.
George, so update over here.
So 2 hours later, we've installed 4 bolts. We had to drill and tap the old ones out. The studs were...
This is the old T4 gasket. You can see it's about half of what it should be. Here's what the T4 gasket should look like. Brand new in the package.
Is there something... Here, so I had to shear off the studs just so I can drill the other side of it. And then, I had to drill these out, and then we went and got new hardware. So now the turbo's on in about 2 hours it took us. So now we're going to take this and drop the motor in the bay finally, and then start buttoning everything up. We're going to install the axles, the drive shaft. If you want to see real quick, the linkages for the transmission on this side. So we ended up having to plug these on and connect these and whatnot once the transmission's in the car. So without further ado, guys, let's get this motor and trans and this turbo in the car. Stav, what do you think?
And to be exact,
what's up?
Today may be Monday, but it's really Thursday.
No, it's definitely Monday. A couple days before Christmas. Well, we're a little delayed, guys, but I mean, again, that's the beauty of doing this stuff. Is sometimes things come the way, and as simple as drilling out some studs and getting some new bolts ends up taking a couple hours out of your day. So it's just what happens.
Thank you, Amazon Prime, for getting these over. And
Stav's the second time he's dropping his Amazon Prime.
That's right. I just want to throw it out there that I have an Amazon Prime account. You know, just want to throw that out there.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys in a little bit.
All right.
All right, guys. So only after 10 episodes, 15 bolts drilled out, multiple parts being removed and installed and ordered.
And confirmed that I have an Amazon Prime account.
The motor and trans are in the car. Stick around. This video will have this thing firing up and running at the end of this video. It's going to be one giant episode. Episode 10 is when this car starts.
Correct.
So Stav, once we have everything buttoned up, started, what's your next step after, just to give people a preview of what's to come in future episodes?
Oh, other than driving and getting the CAE shifter aligned?
Yeah, so let's say we're going to get everything aligned and installed today. Let's say everything's running and moving. What's your next step after in terms of tuning and making powers?
I got to do about 500-mile engine braking. I'm going to take it to a dyno, put on the car, turn up the car at about 45 pounds of boost. All
right, guys, so check this out. When a lot of you guys message and comment on the channel, why go with the Vr6 swap? Other than the Vr6 swap videos that we've done, now that the kind of car is in the middle and it's being assembled, you can see all this room. For those of you guys that know the B5 chassis, the 2.7, even the 1.8T is still very roomy, but the 2.7 doesn't leave much room to do pretty much anything. And we love the fact that you have access to the axles here, you have access to the slave cylinder. There's literally about almost 7 or 8 inches worth of space from here to the back of the firewall, and you can see just the abundant amount of space, and that's the reason why we went Vr6 swap. On top of the Vr6 being a chain-driven cast iron, almost straight 6, there's a lot of room benefits here. You have a lot of room for activities, as they say, and that's primarily the reason why we've gone with this swap. So when you guys ask yourselves, or you guys post on there, hey, why get rid of the 2.7? The 2.7T is legendary. Listen, the 2.7 is a great motor, okay? But we love the chassis. We love the B5 chassis. The Vr6 swap just makes it more reasonable and makes it more tolerable to live with this kind of car and working on it all the time and breaking things and constantly pulling the motor or working on it. Again, just all the room in the world. And I'll say it now, the 12-valve Vr6 actually has more room behind the head than mine does. Per our last Vr6 swap video, you'll see the 24-valve have a much larger head. It would only make sense because they're made for big power, and the 12 valves are much smaller and they have a smaller silhouette. Well, what's the matter?
Today's Christmas, and I honestly thought you were going to say something nice.
So that's one of the reasons why. So if you guys are looking for the most room that you can get behind these motors, 12 valve is the motor for you. 24 valve takes up a little bit more, but you still get all this room here. Anyway, continue on. We're bolting this up. We just got done bolting in the trans mounts. Now we did the drive shaft. Now we're going to do the axles, and then start buttoning and plugging, and then start putting all the coolant, oil, everything in the motor, and shortly fire up. Stav?
Correct.
All right, let's rock and roll. By the way, Merry Christmas to all of you, and
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad, and Happy Kwanzaa.
Today's going to be the Stav gets his motor running, and we're going to break it in. This is pretty exciting.
Now, people are going to ask, is it a coincidence that today's a big holiday and the 12 hours running? I mean, it's all I want for Christmas.
All right, let's continue on. Quick little break here to show you guys the coolant lines. These are homemade coolant lines, and Stav is running the A4 radiator. The A4 radiator has both connections on the same side. S4 would have one on the other side. To give you an example, both these hoses are going to be on the driver's side, and in mine, I don't know if you can see, it's back there. The top is there, and there's another one right here that goes all the way towards the bottom, and that's the S4 radiator setup. Here is the A4, and again, don't overthink this stuff when you guys are doing it. These hoses were made from, I think, silicone scrap that we had, and then on top of that, extras that we bought off from eBay, and then as they kind of broke and ripped, we just kept replacing. But you can get these replacements from AutoZone, and you can make your own, or you can order the silicone reinforcement upgrades for it. I was kind of talking about the A4 versus the S4 Raid, but
A4 superior.
Versus, hold on.
A4 superior.
I was just talking about the A4 and S4 radiator and how your setup was for both on one side versus the S4, which is on both sides, and that's why, you know, look at these. These are all just kind of custom made. They don't have to be super expensive or super crazy or anything like that. So just a quick little tidbit about the coolant lines. We're going to install these in. Then we're going to start hooking up the spaghetti up to Stav's car, all his vacuum lines, coolant lines in the back. And I think we're getting really close, Stav. Got to put oil in her and then start her up.
Correct.
Stav, can you see me?
Correct.
All right, let's keep going.
What are you doing, George?
We're just about almost done, ready to fire up here. Stav's plugging in all the sensors. We hooked up the downpipe, so the car has an O2 reference. We're gonna have to hook up the O2. We put oil in the motor, put in the brake-in additive. Fueling's hooked up, but we're gonna run the motor dry with fuel, without fuel, but with oil, so we can build oil pressure. So basically, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have this out. I'm gonna hold this. Stav's gonna crank it with no fuel going until I get oil coming out of here. Once I do, I'm gonna hook it up, and then we're going to keep going. And essentially, once oil goes through, it tells us that pretty much oil is everywhere else in the motor. So then we'll be ready to fire up and then let her idle by itself without touching the throttle for like 15, 20 minutes. Everyone's got a weird way of doing this break-in stuff. There's like people that wear like rosemary beads on them. They wear their favorite shirt. They idle for an hour, then go drive, or go drive right away, then come back and do an oil change. I think we're going to let it idle for about 15.
We're not breaking in the cams. The cams are already used, so you don't have to get it to a high RPM. Well, after we get it warmed up and there's no leaks or anything, we'll start to mess with the throttle a little bit. But after that, I mean, we'll change the oil on it and button everything up and maybe go for a drive in the next video.
Maybe. None of the intercooler stuff is hooked up, so when we do this, it's just going to sit here and idle and just kind of hang out for a little bit, and then we'll hopefully get her buttoned up where Stav can go for a drive and then see what she's like. That's it, guys. We're almost ready for the startup.
Hopefully, I'm able to handle all 26,419 wheel horsepower on idle.
These numbers just keep getting out of hand, and Stav never hit the dyno. It's just so crazy.
George hit the dyno, but still can't beat Stav.
All right, so let's continue. We're going to get ready for the break-in and the first start. All right. Let's get some oil. Hey, did we put oil in the engine? Dead battery. Come on.
Coming? Is it coming?
I could smell it. Not yet. There we go. Now it's starting to build pressure. All right, stop. I got oil. Look, see that? So we got oil pressure in there. Look at that. So we're gonna let this drain first. Hold on, we'll let this drain, and then I'm gonna hook this up to the turbo feed, onto the turbocharger, and then we should be good to start. Should be good to start. And then we'll double check the oil. Let it sit, Stavro. Take the key out so it doesn't kill the battery. He's like not taking it. Take the key out.
You can't take the key out.
Take the key out.
Shut up.
Don't be Stav.
You see this? So this is all the residual pressure that it built up. So I don't want it to drain all over the car. So I'm just letting it empty as much as possible. And then I'm gonna hook it up to the turbocharger. So this is what we were looking for. And so far, no metal flakes or anything, so that's good. Even though this is the initial start. And then after I hook this up, I'm gonna see, I did the opposite of what I said I would do. Stav, what size was that fitting for the turbo feed?
97.
Such a dick. And then we're gonna check the oil level too on the broken dipstick that we broke. We gotta get him another dipstick.
You broke it.
I didn't break it.
Maybe he broke it.
Definitely didn't
George broke it.
I didn't break it, I swear to God.
Break it, right?
Yep, he really did. First-hand account.
Good job, Paulie.
Ten years from now. Huh?
I'm gonna take the fuel pump.
Alright, just give me a second. Let me double check the oil level.
Take the fuel pump.
She could definitely use some more oil. You see that big oil cooler that we have there in the corner? Stav has a big one there. So I probably took most of it. So we're gonna throw some more oil in there. We gotta throw some more oil in there, Stav. Okay. Yeah, we gotta throw some more. At least another quart and a half. All right, and that's pretty much it. So if you guys could tell, we don't have the intercooler hooked up. We don't have any of the piping hooked up. We did just connect the fuel pump. So we're gonna run fuel through it, prime it, and start it. Let it run for about a minute or two. And then maybe even just a few minutes. What do you think, Stav? Should I check the level real quick?
No, let's go.
All right, 1 second. All right, Stav's build, part 10, first start, take 55.
I'm gonna prime it twice.
Yeah, prime it twice.
There's no fuel.
Almost, keep going, prime it again.
One more time.
There we go, do it one more time. Now we finally got fluid up here. All right, go for it.
One more time.
Oh, almost. First start.
E50 right now, fuel. It's on a base tune right now. It's the old base tune that just started up. We're gonna run it for a few minutes and then possibly connect the radiator with the, shut it off, connect the radiator and the fans so we can run it for maybe 20 minutes,
Let's double check after a few minutes and double check the oil level.
In about 5 minutes.
Congratulations, Stav.
In about 5 minutes, we're gonna put the intercooler on and we're gonna go do passes. 55 pounds of boost.
Look at all that boost. See all that smoke? So the manifold, whatever oil and grease is on, it's gonna burn it off.
My hands being so dirty and all the oil's gonna burn off on the manifold, but it sounds pretty good, Usually when on the first startup of a VR, the top end sounds kind of loud, but you hear a little bit of a tick sound, but I'm sure it'll go away. I mean, usually like the break-in on a VR is usually loud and then it quiets down.
So what we're doing now, as you see the manifold starting to burn itself through from all the grease and oil and nastiness that was on there. What we're going to do now is let the let the motor sit for a few minutes, and then we'll double check, make sure we have the right oil level. Again, we're using Rotella T6 as just sacrificial break-in oil. We actually threw in, do we have the additive? Let me grab one, hold on. We actually threw one of these in there for a good engine break-in additive for zinc. So one of these bottles along with sacrificial Rotella T6, that's pretty much diesel oil. And again, we're only using this for the break-in, and that's 5W40, around the same weight he's gonna run. We're gonna up it to about 10.
Yeah, 540.
Yeah, it's 540, just for the break-in with the new bearings. And then after maybe even a short drive, we'll come back and then change out the oil. We're gonna throw some liquid moly in there, some 10W60. The same oil that I'm running in my VRT in the silver car, and then we'll keep driving it. But this is literally that was the official first start. You guys saw us prime the oiling system and then literally first start it right here on camera.
This is the oil we're going to use.
Yes, correct. Yeah,
correct. So what's the name? This is the motor that George uses in the VR. I think USP just said they run this in their VR, correct?
Yeah, their VRT runs it in their VR.
And that's a 24 valve. So I mean, this is more high performance for a 12 valve. You got to get the best stuff for the best, But sounds good, man.
So let's let it sit for another minute or two. We'll come right back.
So we did say Thursday we would get started, and today is what day?
Thursday. You said Friday, but yeah, Thursday.
So we're early.
Today's Thursday. We never said which Thursday, and today's Christmas Day. So this is my Christmas present to me. I want to say thank you to George. George has helped me entirely. I know we joke on with each other along the way, And I tend to rag on George for running a 24 valve, which, you know, he brought it upon himself. But, I mean, without him, I would never have this car. I would never have this build. Thank you to George. Thank you to Pavlos, who's holding the camera real quick.
Show him who you are, Paul. Show him who you are.
What?
What's up?
So, yeah, I mean, what's it called? We got it started. This is like the first part of the battle. Now we're gonna get the coolant, the radiator back on. We'll let it run for a little bit more.
Do you want to keep this going for part 10, or do you want to roll the first start with the radiator part 11? I'd say keep the good times going. If you guys are willing to wait 2 seconds with the magic of movie camera,
yeah,
we'll be here in 2 seconds with the radiator and everything installed in the front. Let's put some fluids through her and let's really warm her up, bring her up to temp.
Correct.
So let's do that.
I think we should, because after that, after we get it up to temp, running for 30 minutes, no overheating, we change the fluids,
yep,
and then get it ready for a drive.
I'm down. All right, guys, we'll be back here in just half a second.
All right, guys.
So, guys, now what we're doing, we have the radiator, all the coolant lines hooked up. We got the coolant res fully filled. Stav's going to start it. We're going to bleed it, check for leaks, and just let it idle now. Now that the coolant's hooked up, now we're just going to let it just sit there and just do her thing. And we just added a shit ton of air, too. So as you guys saw, we did the first start. Now we got the radiator on. We're cycling it through for 30 minutes. Then we're gonna change the fluids. We still have to hook up the axles, connect the shifter, align the shifter, make sure everything's good. And then we're gonna go on its first maiden voyage.
Correct.
So really excited. Congratulations, Stav, on the first start. And we'll be back here in a couple weeks when we're at part 1 on Stav's rebuild. No, guys, thank you guys for watching. Part 11 is going to be our first drive, and then where's it going to go from there?
We're going to put a couple 100 miles and braking miles. I'll probably try to drive it during the week, you know, put some hot and cold cycles to the motor, and then we'll start with tuning, you know, try to do 10, 20, 30, 40 PSI, and then, you know, hopefully, you know, the motor will hold together, the trans will hold together, and, you know, I mean, if not, we'll repeat the cycle again. That is part of the fun, you know?
All right, guys, so that about wraps it up for part 10. I'm George.
I'm Stav.
This is Malaka Motorsports. We'll see you on part 11 for the first drive in Stav's 12-valve Vr6 engine build. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost.